Well. Look where we are. You guys are still developing bad habits. I mean, come on. I thought after the first 2 episodes we'd be done with this, but looks like it's time for 3 more bad habits. Third time's the charm, right? I'm Renox. Let's get into it.
Alright, so starting things off, one of the most significant mistakes that we see people make throughout the game is negating eco rounds. While many people do understand the importance of saving when low on economy, they don't truly understand what a good eco round looks like and how to play in order to maximize the chances of getting this outcome. In order to make this as simple as possible, let's first go over what to realistically expect when going into a save round and what a good versus a bad save round truly encompasses. While you can't really expect to win save rounds due to the severe lack of weapons and abilities that you will have compared to the enemy team, you should still strive to get kills. For the sake of simplicity, let's say that each of your teammates spends an average of 500 credits on this round, whether it be a pistol or light armor and abilities. This would sum up to a total of 2,500 credits spent amongst yourself and all of your teammates. If the enemy had walked out with a Phantom or Vandal and heavy armor, they would have spent a total of 3,900 credits per person. Killing one enemy in this instance would mean that at the end of the round, the enemy would have lost more credits than you have regarding armor and guns. Now that we've put that into perspective, it's easy to see that getting kills on eco rounds is no joke when trying to recover your team's economy in respect to the enemy. Although you will likely not come out on top when in save rounds, you should always go for as many kills as possible. With that cleared up, let's go over what a good eco round looks like. Realistically, you can potentially get up to 3 kills with a little money invested. On defense, if you get 3 kills, that's pretty much a win. On attack, getting 3 kills is still a good outcome. 2 kills on a bomb plant would also suffice as a good save round. Anything less than what we just stated, although that will still bring you closer to an economic balance with the other team, will usually not be enough to make you truly equal. The enemy will still likely have an economic advantage over you, which could either force you into a double save or will force some people on your team to go into the next round without all of their abilities or with light armor. If your team chooses the latter, don't think that you would have lost the round. This is still a viable option that will only marginally reduce your chance of success, so in most instances, it's the right way to go. With that said, we feel like it's also important to understand when you should initiate eco rounds. Although some may think it's as simple as save when you don't have any money, that's not always the case. Sometimes you may want to force. For instance, on second round, even if you lose the first round, you should likely still force if you got 4 kills and a bomb plant. However, where you should generally save is when 2 or more players can't buy rifles or when the enemy team has beaten you for more than 3 rounds in a row and you can't full buy. By continuously forcing, you may start losing many rounds in a row, which can cause you to lose very winnable games. You should never underestimate the importance of eco rounds. They can save you throughout games, bring motivation to your team, and end loss streaks that can put you in a pit of despair. Before moving forward, let's look at our question of the day. This one is pretty interesting, and it has me thinking for a few days. Do you think that you would be willing to play on a consistent map pool rather than having all of the maps in rotation? Personally, I think that this would add a competitive aspect to the game simply because many players would be able to master the competitive map pool much faster and more effectively. Furthermore, the other maps would likely not be removed. They would still be played just in a more casual setting. What do you guys think? Would this change make you grind more, or would it make the game stale quicker? Let us know in the comments down below, and we'll be sure to read as many as we can. With that being said, let's introduce our second mistake of the video. Flanking. Flanking can be your best friend or your worst enemy throughout your games. Usually, the way a good player is differentiated from a bad player regarding flanks is merely due to timing. While a majority of the game is based on a variety of components including aim, positioning, and general knowledge, flanking is mostly based on game sense. For this reason, understanding the true ins and outs of flanking can make it a weapon in your arsenal. Let's first go over what makes a good flank, and afterwards we'll discuss how this crucial part of the game can quickly turn into a fault in your gameplay. A good flank is usually initiated under strict circumstances. Before going into the enemy backline, you should make sure that your team is holding the enemy off and that none of your teammates have died. If the enemy push into the site before you initiate your flank, its value will diminish significantly, so you want to avoid this situation at all costs. If your teammates die before you flank, you should rotate normally rather than trying to flank. With that said though, you only make this dangerous play a few times a game. Doing it every round is what causes flanks to become something that will often get you killed and allow the enemy to ensure a quick kill. If you flank for a few rounds in a row, the enemies will either zone you out with abilities such as tripwire, or they will simply wait for you to flank and push into the opposing site with a man advantage. In order to avoid this, you have two main options. First is obvious, flank less often. Usually, flanking should be limited to 4 or 5 times in the span of a 12-round defense. This should be a low enough number to make your flanks unpredictable, yet still high enough to keep the enemies on their toes even if you're not flanking. The second option is to vary your flank pathing. For example, let's say you're holding B on bind. Rather than pushing through A link every round into which you decide to flank, you can switch it up and go through cave. This will make the enemy watch the wrong angle and therefore allow you to push into their backline a bit quicker. Ultimately, utilizing both rare flanks and altered pathing will allow you to see the most success when initiating flanks. By performing this tactic correctly, you will be able to turn around some crucial rounds throughout the game and be a valuable player for your team. Moving forward, let's go over one more defense concept that is often misunderstood: rotating. Many players in lower ranks simply rotate when they hear enemies at the other site. Although higher level players also struggle with this concept quite a bit, let's go over why this is bad very quickly. By rotating as soon as the enemy shows their presence at the other site, although you may be thinking that this is the best way to help your team fast, it actually makes you very vulnerable to flanks. Let's say that the enemy intentionally puts one player on A and throws smokes in that direction. By rotating, you will allow the other 4 players to push B without any hassle. Even if the player A dies, planting the bomb with 4 players alive will likely result in the enemy winning the round simply because your team will be rushed to kill all of them and still defuse the bomb. Now that we have cleared that up a little bit, let's go over the proper time to rotate. Ultimately, when deciding whether or not to go help your team on another site, ask yourself 3 things. 1. Did anyone die? If your teammates begin to die, you should rotate immediately because the enemies will try to use their man advantage and very likely push onto site. If they haven't died, however, the enemy could still switch to the site that they tried to push simply because they may have expected you to begin rotating already. 2. Is anyone flanking? If your teammate starts flanking, you should begin to rotate. This is simply because your teammate will be in the way of the enemy in case they do try to switch sites. If he dies, you can simply go back to the original site that you were holding. 3. How long have the enemies been stalling? The more the enemies seem to be stalling in their spawn, the more likely they are to switch the site that they choose to attack. For this reason, if you notice that nobody has seen action for a long time, you should most likely hold your ground. Don't start pushing and don't rotate. Hold an angle and pose a strong defense for when the enemies try to push in. By mastering rotation tactics, you will be able to help your team when necessary, yet still not fall into the hands of fakes due to your increased game knowledge. Now that we've gotten this out of the way, let's also discuss how to take advantage of the opposing team by rotating too early. In cases such as these, you will be able to perform fakes with confidence that the enemies will rotate and you will have a free site. When performing fakes, you always want to send at least one duelist and a smoke character to make noise at the site that you will not be pushing. This will make the push seem very realistic, simply because in a real push, duelists and smokes will be what the enemies see first. However, you shouldn't perform fakes too often because then the enemies will catch on to your playstyle and stop rotating early. Like flanking, you want to limit this to 4 times per half tops. One way to get around this, however, is to rotate early when attacking. For instance, even if your whole team were to push A, if you have not cleared the site in 30 seconds or more, you can run back to B. If the enemy team is known to rotate early, they will surely take the bait if they see a lot of players or the spike pushing towards the other site. We know that some of the information in this video may be a bit confusing, so if you'd like to better yourself in any area of the game or simply find your personal struggles, we strongly recommend visiting ProGuides.com. There, our pros will be available for 24-hour coaching, and in a matter of minutes, you can set up a meeting with a coach and begin improving. For the most hassle-free experience, we also have a VOD review system. This will allow you to submit a video of past gameplay, and you will receive a full analysis of it in less than 24 hours. With that being said, if you like this content, we also hope that you check out the COD channel, where you can learn all about the new Call of Duty titles.
You know, after talking about these bad habits, I'm starting to think of a few more which you guys probably have, which means we're probably gonna have to film a 4th episode. Well, if you want to stay up to date and make sure not to miss out on the next time we shit on you guys, any of our videos, make sure to subscribe and ring that bell notification. While you're at it, don't forget to drop a like and leave your answer to the question of the day in the comments down below. Until next time, peace out.